Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We're going to give people a few moments to enter the webinar from the waiting room, and we will get started shortly. Okay, great. I think we will get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for the Znode Commerce Portal webinar. Here's our agenda for the webinar today. We're going to go through just a few housekeeping items, introductions, provide an overview of the Commerce Portal, walk you through a quick demo, and then we will conclude with a Q&A. So first, just a couple housekeeping items. We're going to be recording this webinar and we'll email a link to you to reference and share with your colleagues within the next, say, 48 hours. The recording will also be hosted on Znode's YouTube channel. The Q&A feature, which should be at the bottom of your screen, will be available during the webinar. We plan to hold all questions to the end to be answered, but feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A feature as you think of them throughout the webinar. On to introductions. My name is Allison Gugala. I'm the Director of Product Marketing for Amla Commerce and your moderator for today's webinar. I'm joined by our presenter, Frank Connelly. And Frank, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello, good morning. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Frank Connelly. I'm the Product Development Director for Znode. All right, so let's get into it. So today we're going to start with an overview of the Commerce Portal. We'll cover some use cases, outline some of the main pain points that we solve by creating the Commerce Portal Accelerator. And then we'll talk through some of the features, obviously, and maybe look at the features that were added to the admin console and the Commerce Portal Accelerator app. Then we'll do a quick run through of the actual software itself, and then wrap up with questions. So, all right, to start off with, I really want to talk about what we were seeing in the market, and with some of the existing customers, the Znode existing customers that were already using multi-store capabilities within Znode, and covered many of the B2B use cases where self-service, or we sometimes call it direct sales, or the cart and checkout, your common cart checkout feature within e-commerce, right, was the primary model. And our customers and some of the our onboarding customers knew that being a headless and extensible platform, Znode could be extended to cover use cases outside of that, right? Some more complex, what we call high touch, or guided or indirect order creation as well. And we had we had a few customers that were already extending a platform to support that as well. So our thought was, why not support this model with a native accelerator to help that is go along faster, right? So the Commerce Portal really gives manufacturers and distributors the ability to enable indirect and direct sales, so cart and checkout, and more of a guided order creation process. So the portal allows sales reps and customer service teams a single shared view of that customer information within the Znode platform. And there are views and capabilities that can be configured by role, to really align those capabilities with current business process and current, organizational structure. So some of the examples, use cases are, for manufacturers and sales reps, really allowing them to place and manage orders centrally. So in one spot, manage RFQs or quote requests, view customer specific sales activity, and sync all of that data to one or multiple external systems or ERPs. Right. Another example of the use case is the commerce portal could be used by distributors to process RFQs, apply pricing discounts, manage orders, manage project bids, and organize shipping information. The third user group that we're looking at is the actual end customer. So the end customer, you can allow the customer to access that and maybe see a view only, log in to see the final price or fulfillment status, where that order is in the process of maybe the delivery information, right? So now we want to just talk about some of the more details of why we created those pain points that exist and why we created the commerce portal. So an existing Znode platform, when a Znode storefront, you're placing an order either through the storefront or through the existing admin console, all the information essentially needs to be complete before you can create that final order. But in many companies and some of our existing customers, that order processing isn't necessarily always that simple as just adding a product to the cart, paying and checking out, right? Sometimes manufacturers and distributors have more complex order processing needs that don't fit into that self-serve model and need more of a guided model, right? So each B2B company has buyers and at customers, right? Those buyers are usually working with a sales rep at the distributor or manufacturer level, right? The sales rep will, needs to start an order for them. Often there's an incomplete or unknown information, as I said, on the initial order. This could be product quantities needed, or where to ship, or product configuration for more complex products, any number of things. In this case, maybe the salesperson doesn't have that order, but they need to start that order process, even though there is missing information. So the typical e-commerce platform self-serve workflow didn't really support that very well. Also, in many cases, there may be just more than one person that's working on a particular order. There's a whole team of people, right? So they're working on these items, essentially items or questions, incomplete or information that they need to gather. There's also many orders coming in that may have different types of information or different needs based on any number of things as well. So based on the order, there are also workflows, to-dos that maybe require special attention. And since there's a team of people working on these orders, those teams usually have a manager that tracks progress of that particular order, or maybe helps expedite issues. Another thing is there being multiple teams that are helping on those orders, each team member may have a different responsibility or capabilities related to that order. So for example, maybe doing product quantity checks or gathering large order shipment information, product configuration, or performing credit checks, right? So these teams work together to resolve all of those issues and incomplete information, get it all in the order in order to finalize the order, right? So the ultimate goal is to complete the order with all the information. As that order is completed and everything is resolved, and any of the issues are resolved, then finally it can go to order fulfillment. So this is just an example of how that complex order process maybe doesn't really fit into your typical, add to cart and checkout, right? And we need the market needed something more. Additionally, with that is, so within that sales and order process, there are even, more complexities and frictions. So when internal sales representatives are supporting those customers, they often have to connect to multiple systems, right? So in order to gather the various amounts of information that you need to complete an order, they may have to access 4, 5, 6 different systems to get the correct information to add it to the order details, right? So they may use Znode to place orders, an ERP or a WMS or order fulfillment, where they have to look for information there. A CRM, is the sales system of record or track customer details and notes. Possibly a shipping platform to track information there. Any number of systems that they have to connect to. And for each of these systems, you need to manage logins for each sales rep. They need to understand those other systems, where to get that information from in order to enter it in the order form, essentially. Right. So what we were seeing is rather give them, access to all of those different systems, which they may have already. Why not just give them one single access, right? So give them Commerce Portal, connect the Commerce Portal to all these other backend systems. Then the sales representatives can have a single login in the Commerce Portal, and using that one interface, they can essentially get all of their information that's needed to complete that order, right? Additionally, the thing that we were seeing is, we've been talking about, at any manufacturer or distributor, people that work for that organization, so internal staff members. We also we're seeing a lot of scenarios where they have outside salespeople or external people that needed access to the same information, or at least some of it, right? So we don't want to give those external sales reps or the customer access to the ERP or CRM, right? They don't need access to those systems, but they do need updated information. So we could just give them access to the Commerce Portal using some of the built-in features, right? So the Commerce Portal Accelerator gives us the ability to remove a lot of those frictions that we were seeing in the marketplace, right? So here you can see some of the key features that we created in the accelerator to address those needs, right? So we have unique roles and permissions that can be defined to allow users to see only what they need to see. So internal, external users, you can control access levels, right? Access levels, and they can do specific things or just have view only, right? So new orders can be entered and saved without fully completed, unlike your typical checkout function. So you can start a new order and complete it later. Each order status can be defined, so you can have complete control over the different statuses and add new ones. And you can also add a color to those to make that more visually noticeable, depending on the status. Users can be added to one or more user groups, and because we have more than one person that needs access to a particular order and may work on it, so we introduce user groups. Team members within those groups, a team member that has access to particular orders can essentially, if let's say they're going to be out of work for a day or they're going on vacation, they can just mark another team member as a person that they delegate their work to. And then that additional team member can essentially access that person's workload. Any of the orders that were kind of in flight or in progress, that other team member can now view them and manage them accordingly without having to reassign everything, right? Additionally, the Commerce Portal tracks all the changes that are on a particular order. So as you're working it through a particular predefined process, we're tracking everything. Anyone who's accessed that, who's changed statuses, who's changed pricing. Any change to that order is tracked in a log file, right? So Commerce Portal includes a powerful accelerator framework, is what we're calling it, and this is really the framework that we use to build everything. So we have additional permission system that we've created, adding additional permissions as new systems are connected. So if you want to connect your ERP or some other third-party system, you can add those additional access controls, right? Znode Commerce Connector enables connecting internal and external systems through just base Znode functionality. So then we can present, push, pull any of that data real time based on those connections that are built in, right? And for developers, the general front end framework allows them to present the data coming from other systems using our predefined visual display framework. The Commerce Portal admin, so there's some additional admin controls that have been built into the main Znode admin to help solve some of these problems. So order classes allow using the full portal capability to define high-level kind of groups of orders. So think of those as like quotes, orders, pending orders, that higher level classification that are more broad and controlled. The additional thing is order types that are really based on the manufacturer distributors. So the companies that are using the portal may have a bunch of order types that they already have defined in their existing systems that we can just replicate by creating the same type of order type within the Commerce Portal. Just helps for more categorization capabilities. For each of those order classes, multiple order statuses can be defined, which I talked about. And those include all sorts of different configuration options as well. For instance, you can attach buttons for each status that help with workflow, and that can be all configured through the admin. We created something called order flags to facilitate the workflow that may exist in processes, and those just show up as on the orders themselves or the order line items as checkboxes that can be essentially completed as you're working through. Users can also assign or essentially create new flags as on the fly as well. I already mentioned user groups, which can be assigned to orders, so multiple people can access them. And then the permission controls of not only access to the Commerce Portal and what you see, but also you can, attach additional permissions to, give certain people like the ability to override pricing, right? You can lock that down and have certain users that just can't do that, right? So let's review some of these configuration options, and then we'll jump into the demo next. Just to give you a quick kind of precursor of what you'll see from a configuration standpoint. So on a particular order, we're clearly defining what that order class is. In this case, it's an order, right? Those are defined by Znode, and each class can take advantage of the different configurations that come along with the Commerce Portal. For example, customers can request a quote, they can convert quote to order, and in this particular use case, it's quote and order are those order classes, so you define those there. Order types can be specific to a business. For example, maybe it's just two regular orders and custom orders as an example. So you can configure those, and each type of order can have different default configurations, like default flags that come along with it, automatically be assigned to default user groups that need to manage those particular orders, right? Order statuses, I'd mentioned, can be configured with different colors, as you can see here, for quick identification. Status buttons changes, as I had mentioned before, where you can configure what those buttons say and do to help facilitate the workflow and whatever the next step of that, that order needs to be, just to make it easier for people to work through those orders. User groups and the specific owner of the particular order is displayed here. And remember, orders can be assigned to multiple groups as well. Order flags are the workflow items. So this allows allows, once it's set up, the team can essentially see the flags that came along with that particular order type, or they can add additional flags if they need to. Let's say, hey, this person needs to do a credit check. They can add that credit check flag on the fly as well. I had mentioned the notes and logs. So under the notes and logs section is where you'll see everything on that has changed on that order over the lifetime of that order creation process, right? And then permissions, this is just an example I had mentioned where you can essentially give people the right to override prices or override shipping, override certain things. You can just essentially lock that down to only specific users that you want to be able to do that. All right, well, let's show it here. So the first screen is the login screen. As soon as you set up the users again in the main Znode, admin console, give them access to the commerce portal, they can launch this and load the commerce portal accelerator. So this is an example of just the base accelerator that comes along with Znode. And some stuff off my screen here. All right, so this is essentially the landing page or the view that you're going to see for the things that are loaded into the commerce portal. Right now we're just seeing orders, but on the left-hand side, you can imagine if you had orders, quotes, pending orders, or access to other information that you're pulling out of your ERP or a CRM, tabs can be added here, and then additional screens can show up, right? From the order standpoint, these are, again, based on those permissions. So I'm logged in generally as a manager, and I'm going to see my orders that maybe I'm working on. If orders from someone who reports to me and they're on vacation, they've delegated their workload to me, they would show up here. And then you can essentially see the different types of orders that are coming in here as well and where they are in the process. And again, all of this is based on the statuses and the configuration that you do in the admin of what shows up here, right? You can easily start and create another order, see who's working on what, the account, the customer, and some basic information of that order, what the age of the order is, when it's last updated, and some key information here. You can click to edit that order. A quick view gives you some additional information. You can copy, duplicate an order and start a new one, and do some assigning of a particular order right from the screen. Some additional filtering capabilities as well. So certain things here, again, a lot of this is really configured to or set to pull in a lot of the same configurations that you have for your stores that you're running within Znode. So you can filter everything by store. You can also create your own views and set them as buttons at the top here. Filtering as well, where you can select and search for different things. The tools are more bulk tools where you can bulk assign orders to yourself, follow, unfollow, that sort of thing, right? And then obviously if you're dealing with hundreds or thousands of orders, you have search capabilities to search through and find particular orders, right? So let's view the order. And this is that same example of the screen that I showed before, where you essentially do all of your work. So this is where you can manage and create and add all of that additional information during that order creation process. The and I'll quickly show a few things here. So again, we already talked about users that can be added, saving and closing. These are those additional buttons. Here's the basic information on, the account information, the users and the order type, and, the sort of the summary of the order itself. Right. And as we work our way down, you can see the flags that have been worked on or completed with the checkbox, right? You can check and you can see that the label changed. So if get need by date, then, as I complete or team members complete things, they can set those flags to correct. And I can also add additional flags as needed. And all these things are essentially configured through the admin, right? So we have our product list here where you can see line item detail, the SKU, the product information, the line item statuses, whether there's any flags that need to be checked on this particular line item, overriding pricing, adding or removing additional quantities, some of those typical things, right? If I go into the line item detail, I can also see this, right? I can see any of the tier-based pricing that we're pulling out of the Znode price list, and additional product information, right? I can add line item notes here as well, and then go back to editing. Additionally, I have the ability to add additional products here. So if I want to add additional product, you can see all the same information is being pulled out of the catalog in the PIM, so you can help guide the user on what they want to add to their order, right? So those are typical things here. Again, a lot of the same stuff that you see during a checkout, where you can manage shipping, payment options, enter your PO number, give discounts, make something tax exempt, and have access to that particular account or that user's address book as well. So you're sending the correct bill to and ship to. And quickly to go over here, here you can see that essentially all the change details that have come along with it. And you do have the ability to export this as well. So if you have to perform an audit or something, you can export all this data as a CSV. All right. So that's essentially the general overview of the Commerce Portal. All right. And I guess now we can address any of the questions. I know we're close to time here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Frank. We have just a couple minutes to answer your questions. If you have a question, again, you please enter it in the Q&A feature. That should be located at the bottom of your screen. I do have one question here for you, Frank. How much or how little admin access and permissions can I give my salespeople?
Good question. So it is, we did add a bunch of permission configuration. I'll just quickly open the admin here. And we have additional Commerce Portal configurations that I had mentioned. And if we go under roles and access rights, we can see some additional things here. So Commerce Portal Manager is a user that we've created from or a role that we created that can then be assigned to a particular user. And remember, it's a lot of the native Znode functionality, and then we've added Commerce Portal permissions, right? So there's a lot of details of what they can't do that you can create and attach to a particular permission or role, and then just assign that user to that role. And then these permissions come along with it.
Great. A few more questions that were entered. Is there summary reports or analytics within the Commerce Portal?
You have the ability to add those analytics to those, but currently the Accelerator Kit doesn't have those out of box. But again, everything that you were seeing in this kit here is meant to be extensible and customizable, right? So you can add and customize things like that as needed.
Another question, does the order process take away from entering an order within Znode admin? So
No,
all orders would be placed within the commerce portal instead?
if that's what you want to do, you absolutely can. But no, it does not. Like the you can still enter orders through through the admin console as well, but the that follows the existing workflow. So you have to have a lot of that complete information because it's like checking out and the kind of cart workflow. So it's a different capabilities. So this order workflow on here is just a lot more robust that you can utilize here in the commerce portal.
Okay, great. That is all the time that we have. So the Commerce Portal was included in the Znode 9.9 release. And if you'd like to take a more in-depth look at the Commerce Portal, please definitely reach out to your Znode account manager or implementation partner to learn more and take a deeper dive into that. And thanks again, Frank, for providing the overview and demo, Zenode's Commerce Portal. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. We appreciate your time. Again, we've recorded the webinar and we'll be posting that on Zenode's YouTube channel. So that will be shared digitally. And you should also receive an email with a link to that recording. So that's a wrap. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.